Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week. Alright, well, this is fun. I'm just going to spill our beans and say that 3 episodes, the next 3, this one is going to be the second in the series of 3. But we're basically doing 3 episodes in like 48 hours, perhaps. Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. You know what sucks?
Yeah.
After this one, which is going to be the second one, we have one more after it.
Yeah.
I got the perfect movie to jump off of this episode, but I can't because we have the next one already planned out.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the end, we're going to pretend like, oh, what should we watch next week? And we're just going to say the thing that we already watched. So this is a total sham. It's like the Old West, you know, like when like Charlie Chaplin's standing there and like a fucking building falls and he goes like right through the... Yeah, how familiar are you with Lyndon B. Johnson?
President, I want to say?
Did you know that he called his dick Jumbo?
I did not.
Yeah, he did call his dick Jumbo.
Like, hey, this thing is Jumbo, or like, hi, this guy's name is Jumbo.
This guy's name is Jumbo. And
fire.
also, again, this is not just in private with friends, was notorious for pulling his dick out.
Yeah.
Just, it was the thing he'd do. Like, he'd pull out his pants and he'd say, you ever seen a dick bigger than this?
I've never met one, but that's exactly what I'd expect from a guy named Lyndon.
The B actually stands for big. Lyndon Big Johnson.
That's hilarious.
No, I'm kidding. It's Byron or something like that. But
we heard a name in a movie the other day that was like, that's the oldest name a woman's ever had. No one has that name anymore.
Oh, are you talking about Mitzi?
Yeah, Mitzi sounds
Mitzi.
like it's Lyndon is the male Litzy.
This part's rumored. I just heard that one time he got in trouble because on the Congress floor he was just itching the shit out of his asshole. He was just itching his little butthole raw. So, but yeah, he was a big time like I'm shitting with the door open and you're gonna keep talking to me type guy. And he's also notoriously a very close talker. People you talk very close to him. He's a very big guy, you know. Loved sex. You told me that gross pantyhose thing off air.
Yeah. I won't say it again.
You could say it one more time.
It's vile.
It's pretty vile, but you can say it one more time.
It's not my brand. I won't say it.
Okay. Well, he said something about, and it sounds on brand for LBJ, I'm going to say it. Something about how LBJ once said something like, this is the worst thing that happens since what pantyhose did to finger fucking.
Something like that, yeah.
Horrible. But anyways.
Where's he from? State-wise.
You want to guess it? I'll do a guess. You do a guess?
I'm going to say either he's from
I want to say Arkansas because that's where Bill Clinton's from, but
okay.
It's not Arkansas.
I want to say Alabama or New York. He has to be like one of the
Alabama feels good. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say Arkansas. I know that it's probably crazy, but let's find out where LGBTQ lived. Wow. He was born in Stonewall Jackson.
Wow.
Stonewall Jackson's a fucking army general from the Civil War. Stonewall, Texas. He was born in Stonewall, Texas. But we kind of lost some of the magic with the Lyndon B. Johnson thing because before we started recording, I brought up the big dick thing and like how he shows people his dick, and you couldn't believe that. It was like, whoa, that's crazy. And I'm using that as a good segue because you also... Another thing you'd never seen or heard of, or whatever, is like you never saw that Forrest Gump movie. So we watched that this week.
I didn't take any notes. I don't know why I was so quiet during that. Yeah. What's your history with Forrest Gump, Chris?
Well, I can tell you. Okay. Actually, I got a little bit of lore. This was a big cultural phenomena.
There's nothing I love more than Chris lore, you know.
My mom says that she was hanging out with this guy she knew who had a kid.
How it always starts. Go on.
And he had web feet, and she thought that was really fucking weird and funny. Mm-hmm. And so, like, he was running or whatever, and she kept going, like, run, Forrest, run, or something like that. And he was like, keep making fun of him, and your kid's going to have web feet, too. This story makes no sense. But She was like, sure enough, when you were born, you had web feet. It sounds like some backwoods, like, you know what I mean, Louisiana kind of type story. Like, how do the two things relate? Like, were you making fun of him by saying run, Forrest, run? Is that, like, for having the web toes?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That also sounds like a story that Forrest Gump would have told somebody in this movie.
Yeah. So and then otherwise, yeah, I've just seen it a million times.
Really?
So yeah. And you, et toi?
I ain't never seen no Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah, that's right. I already spilled your beans for you.
Yeah, you did.
Well, first impressions.
Well, I think a big reason I hadn't seen it before was, it's one of the most famous movies of all time.
Sure.
I was just like, I just don't need it. Just little edgelord teenage Nick that has carried through into adulthood. I'm like, I got no desire to see.
Sure.
Forrest Gump. There's no way it's that good,
Yeah.
And I watched it. It's pretty good, but I also had that expectation, so I was like, nah, it's not the best movie I've seen.
No.
But I couldn't tell you anything I dislike about Forrest Gump.
Sure.
Actually, I probably could.
I could tell you one thing. I don't like the scoring. The scoring has
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, too clean. It almost has like a made-for-TV, like Lifetime movie, score to it. Like just very like literally parody of a movie that should be up for an Oscar type score.
Yeah, I felt it's like this movie feels on the edge of, man, they don't make them like they used to, and the worst movies of all time. In the that came out in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's like a Robert Zemeckis joint. So obviously it's impeccable in one sense, but in another sense, it's almost like post that to the point of being self-parody almost.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was like the most pretentious thing I ever said about a movie, but it's just tipping over into like that thing where it's like, okay. All right, it's 94. It's Pulp Fiction now, bitch. What are you doing?
At this point, Robert Zemeckis is farther from Back to the Future than he is Mars Needs Moms.
Yeah. Did he make that motherfucker?
I'm pretty sure he made Mars Needs Moms after Polar Express. He was super like, the future of movies, it's motion capture.
Yeah, that was crazy. That's like when I found out that like all those Sharknado movies up until like I want to say into the 2010s were being like still produced by like Roger Corman.
Really?
Which is crazy because like Roger Corman gave like Francis Ford Coppola like his like start with like fucking like, making fucking B movies in the damn 50s and 60s, B horror films.
Was he just that time's, what's his name? Jordan Blum?
Who's Jordan Blum? Does he do Blumhouse?
Yeah. Just gives a bunch of money or a little bit of money to literally anybody, and some of them hit.
Roger Corman. Here's how I can sum it up: the Terror, that movie that Jack Nicholson and like 26 other people wrote and directed.
Yeah.
Because basically, Roger Corman was like, "Hey, we have Boris Karloff for 3 days, so we're just gonna shoot a bunch of like vaguely usable nonsense that could fit into anything, and you guys make a movie around that, and then I'm gonna slap my name on the directed by,
Did Boris Karloff just like owe someone a favor, and he's like, "I'll show up for 3 days"?
No, he was like they were like shooting, and they finished a couple days early. They still had him like contractually for like 2 or 3 days or something. So they were like, "Well, we're not gonna like send him home early. We're just gonna make him shoot a bunch of stuff that we'll use later." Anyways,
that can't be legal, right?
It was like 1962.
Yeah, that sounds insane though. For anybody else, like you just finished up the job, and it's like, hey, because for sure they didn't pay him twice. They didn't pay him for 2 movies. That's. Poor guy.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, The Terror definitely didn't make any money. I think it's in the public domain now. But that's not the movie we're talking about. So Tommy Hanks, obviously you told me the thing about Tommy Hanks being like, why are we teaching this kid how to talk like me when I could just talk like this kid? Great decision, because while it is arguably maybe like a dumb like voice, I know that he's doing a dumb voice. I don't mean that. I'm just saying like, I know it is like maybe a little much. Like I can remember being in high school and listening to an audio tape of Mice and Men, and for Lenny, they were doing like a very elaborate and over-the-top, almost Looney Tunes-esque version of someone with special needs, kind of a thing.
Wow.
And then we watched the of Mice and Men with like God, what's that guy's name? I'm better. I'm being John Malkovich. With John Malkovich in it, and he was doing like, I don't know how to put it other than to say that like he was like going for it the way that the actors in the 90s did, and that was more upsetting.
Yeah.
And I remember like talking about it in the hallway, and like because we had like a 5-minute break during this English class, and I was like, I don't know, I felt like while the audiobook might have been kind of cartoonish, like it's at least not as upsetting as like watching a guy pretend do that. You know what I'm saying? And I remember just like coming back from the break and my teacher being like literally just verbatim being like, the other one was cartoonish, okay? And like he was like basically like, I can't remember exactly how I put it or how he put it, but he was like using my, like he overheard me and was like intentionally
wow,
like or like kind of shitting on my opinion. Anyways, all I'm trying to say is
poor guy.
That's I feel like
that reminds me of something a conversation I had with a friend of the show, Will Lorenz, the other night.
Okay.
We watched a movie and someone had a southern accent, and we were talking about accents in movies, and I feel like it goes for exactly what you're talking about there.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'd say most of the time, all the time, you don't got to do a voice. You can just use your voice. If two people in a movie are British and one's Jamaican and then one has an English accent or an American accent, I don't care.
Yeah.
I do not mind.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting take. But Forrest Gump, a take that I had, I don't know if it exists elsewhere, because I also thought I came up with the term Sloppenheimer, but then I looked it up on Twitter and everybody's been making those jokes. But pretty much kind of like Ready Player One for boomers. I said this. You laughed.
Yes,
I laughed.
I did.
That's the whole gimmick, is that Forrest Gump is like, in a sense, can I ask you this? Is Forrest Gump supposed to be America?
Wow, hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
That's what I'm going with.
He did cause Watergate.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, is he like the entity as a whole, or the American people, or the American government?
I'm going to say like kind of like the people, the spirit, that whole thing where it's like, you know, that American dream of like, you never know, you could grow up in the backwoods of Louisiana and be deficient on an IQ graph, but also meet the president twice and, you know, become a ping pong champion, you know.
Okay.
Through sheer dumb American luck, because he doesn't really do much. He just happens to be at the right place at the right time. Which, what's more American than that?
So what does that make Jenny?
I think this movie's very misogynist. I think she's just women.
Okay.
So that's not my saying. That's just what the movie's giving me.
Yeah, I think it's very strange. I've never seen a movie do this where there's a very interesting and compelling character with a very like a lot going on in their life, and I would like to see their life front to back, and then instead the movie's about her idiot friend, you know?
yeah, because that's crazy. Like, because she was like, you know, trigger warning, I suppose, but like, you know, molested growing up, and then like she obviously deals with that, you know, pretty by the numbers in terms of like if you gave me like the stereotypical how that life plays out with just drugs and like experimenting with sex, but the whole time while she's like leading on this like bag of rocks. Yeah. Which is the worst part. It hurts to watch sometimes.
The bag of rocks?
He's the bag of rocks. She's leading on this bag of rocks, I'm saying.
Oh, I thought you meant because she throws rocks at her house. I'm sorry.
No, she's just leading on this bag of rocks his whole life, and then she gets
it does. I don't know.
Pregnant by him, but then doesn't tell him for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this weird thing where, like, you know, if I could be so bold, it's like her whole thing is like this weird, like, pity / actual affection, but also at the same time, like, she doesn't want to be slumming it with the dummy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very strange. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
I like.
But you mentioned that. I really did like that take where it's like, like it's like like you said, super interesting character, but then you just have to like you're centered on this guy who's like adjacent to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and he just lives this like weird fantasy life where she lives, you know, a very serious drama.
Yeah.
It seems.
It's almost like that meme of like looking out two different sides of the bus.
Yeah.
Like they're on the same bus, but he's looking out the butterfly side.
I don't know how to feel about Jenny at the end of this movie because I'm like, you had a hard life and your story was interesting and I get why you made a lot of the choices you made, but also at the same time I'm like, you're doing my man Forrest real dirty and you gotta know that.
Yeah. So those are some broad strokes. You know, that gives us a good. You want to go scene by scene at all? Talk about anything that stood out to you? I mean, he's a kid for a little while. He meets Elvis. You know,
and that's basically the movie over and over again until it's over.
Yeah, just 100 times.
I will say
they put braces on his little legs, but anyways,
they do, and they explode off.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second.
A lot of this movie didn't expect for basically the first line to be "Life is like a box of
Neither
chocolates."
did I. Actually joked, and then I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I guess it is because while I said I've seen it 100 times, it's been a while. And yeah, I had forgotten. I thought that came in the middle for some reason.
It's like it's a lot of this movie is like watching The Wizard of Oz, where you hear Dorothy say, "I don't think we're in Kansas anymore." It's the only time you hear someone say that non-ironically. It's like, oh, that's weird. Yeah. And a lot of this movie feels like people referencing Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
But the upside of that was there's a lot of Forrest Gump quotes in here that I've never heard before that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, when she's throwing rocks at her old childhood home, and then she falls down or whatever, and Forrest goes, "But sometimes in life, there's just not enough rocks." I'm like, I like that. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. The framing device is that he's like on his way to meet Jenny, which you don't find out till later, because she said like, "Hey, come talk to me, you big hunk of rocks," and he's like waiting for a bus. She told him to take like the number 9 bus or something, and he's sitting there just talking to whoever comes by.
Yes, I think this is my favorite running joke in the movie. Is that like
nobody ever sticks around for much of it.
Yeah, it'll cut back, and the person he's talking to gets up and leaves, and the person that was sitting on the other side of them is like, "Well, I'm going to scoot over. I'm very interested in this." And then sometimes it'll cut back, and there's just different people there. They don't show you anyone leaving or coming. It's just a different group of people. I love it.
But yeah, so he's got these braces on his legs after he met Elvis. That happened. Whatever. Sometimes, what can you say?
Yeah, it turns out Elvis's famous dance is him just making fun of a kid with leg braces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this movie that, like, you know, like, I won't name names, but, like, a friend of ours, I guess we could name names, right? What's wrong with saying that Will was like, yeah, it seems like Walk Hard if, like, there's not a joke. If it's just earnest.
Yeah,
and it's like,
see that, yeah.
I think a lot of this is a joke, because like because like that example is like a perfect example of how like that's pretty dark, that like basically what Elvis is doing is impersonating a mentally challenged kid and everybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like in a little bit when he's trying to get into school, you pointed this out, it's still one of the funniest jokes when he's like, this is the state average IQ. Forrest is just underneath that. And then the thing they don't draw attention to is that both of those are underneath the average.
Yeah, the state average is under just the regular average. It's so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this thing is chock full of not only jokes, but also like, again, like, you know, like one of the things that you mentioned is when Forrest eventually goes to the military, like how he does exceedingly well, which again is like pretty on the nose and like not very like subtle, like just like, yeah, you have to be a dumb as a bag of rocks to do well in the military. That's what it's made for. Kind of is the statement being made.
Yeah.
So, but that's just a little side detour that we can revisit a couple of times. He does run so fast. It's apparently a miracle because the kids in the 50s are throwing rocks at his head, which is just proof positive that there's never been a better time to be alive.
Yeah. Side note, something I'd like to get off my chest, but it's romanticized quite a bit. But I think the 1950s is hell on earth. I would never want to be there.
Yeah, looks great. To be there?
That's debatable as well. It looks nifty.
Yeah.
Not something
I mean, great in the sense that it's like, I get it. Everything's perfect the way you draw it. I get it.
It's a look that I'd like to see behind a plate of glass at the Henry Ford Museum. I go, that's what things used to look like.
I want to see it at the World's Fair. I want to go to the World's Fair.
Okay, you got me. I'd like to go to the World's Fair, yeah. But besides all of that, just kids will throw rocks at your heads.
Yeah.
Because you got nothing better to do than get hit by rocks or run away from rocks after school. Music hadn't gotten good yet. Movies were getting there.
Yeah.
There's just nothing. There's just nothing to do. Yeah. And also,
the Oregon Trail wouldn't come out for another couple decades.
And also, kids are throwing rocks at you.
Yeah. But anyways, it's apparently a miracle that he runs so fast that his braces fall off, and that just means that his legs are fixed now. Which I guess is a miracle.
His legs were never broken. The braces were to straighten out his back.
Oh, right. Which it did. He has perfect posture the rest of the movie.
Sure did.
From there, whatever. I don't know. He runs into like college ball, and he becomes really good at college ball.
Yeah.
Which takes him to college. He gets a degree. From there, you know, Jenny, that whole thing about like she wants to be a folk singer or whatever. What's the next big thing that happens to Forrest in terms of like pop culture stuff once he's in college? I can't remember. I think the only thing that I can bring up is the scene where Jenny's making on the car and he beats up the guy in the car. She's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" He's like, "I'm gonna go back to my college now." And she's like, "No, you come inside."
Yeah.
And my favorite thing about this whole scene is like it's crazy awkward because like she's like sitting on bed with him and like she's like, "Have you even like been with a woman, Forrest?" And he doesn't. He says, "I sit next to him in home economics or whatever." And then she takes her bra off and like lets him squeeze her boob. And
she like makes him.
And so my favorite thing is after this whole weird, confusing, like early sexual experience scene is they kind of pan the camera down and her roommate is wide-eyed facing the camera in her bed trying to pretend like she's sleeping.
It's very funny.
It's a good bit. It's a great bit.
I think this is around here in college is when they start putting him into real life archival footage.
Oh right, yeah.
Like there's the what's it called?
I can't remember.
It's like the desegregation of schools in
it's a very famous
Alabama.
Yeah.
And they just edit him into that footage, which is strange.
Yeah.
And then from there he goes straight into the military after
but
college?
I think like him doing good at college ball, doesn't that let him meet JFK?
Yes.
And he like drinks 15 Dr. Peppers.
Yeah, because they got as much Dr. Pepper as you want. Yeah. He meets...
Congratulations, how's it feel to be All-American? I gotta pee. Someone show this man the restroom, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's outside of graduation, and an army guy goes, "Want an army?" And he goes, "You bitch."
Yeah. And this is where he meets Lieutenant Dan and Bubba.
Yeah.
I will also say that once he gets to Vietnam, another one of my favorite jokes. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but he says something like he was like it wasn't nothing like home except for the barbecuing and the grilling and the beers and this that. He's like going on and on about like how like really the picture they paint of Vietnam is everybody hanging out smoking cigarettes and doing fuck all.
Yeah, it's the beach ball scene from Top Gun.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Bubba though. I really do like
Bubba's
Bubba
great.
a lot.
We liked his drill sergeant quite a bit, but I couldn't remember anything that he said.
It's just basically like him being like he's like he says stuff like, "And if I told you to do this, Gump, would you do it?" And he was like, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "And why would you?" And he's like, "Because you told me to, sir." And he's like, "God damn it, Gump, you must have an IQ of 160. You must be the smartest goddamn man I ever seen in this goddamn world."
I love a good drill sergeant in the movie because it's all you compare all of it to Full Metal Jacket, but it doesn't matter when a good drill sergeant gets done right in a movie. I love it.
Yeah, that's what I love is like him, like, because usually it's like, "You worthless piece of pussy shit," like for him to be like, "God damn it, Gump, you must have an IQ of goddamn 160. It's a nice juxtaposition, like how angry and stoic he is, but he's being very nice. There's the gag. Bubba goes on about all the different ways you can make your shrimp up. But basically, then it rains for a long time. Lieutenant Dan, the whole thing about how he comes from a long line of people who died in battle, yada, yada, yada.
They're playing every single 60s rock hit,
Yeah.
every single Vietnam
They pay him
song.
back to back.
There are
6 door songs.
Yeah, they go back to back to back to back to door song to door song to door song to door song. It's
you
insane.
think Robert Zemeckis was just like, keep it rolling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So anyways, then they get attacked, they get ambushed in the forest. Gump's a hero. He pulls everybody out, including Lieutenant Dan, who fully intended to die out there. Bubba does die out there. Very, very sad, actually. This is a very sad scene for me, like when he's holding Bubba. And or even before he like pulls Bubba out, when he moves the leaf that Bubba's been holding on his thing, and he just sees how bloody he is, and he's like, "Oh, Bubba," But anyways, when he carries him out to the beach or whatever, he's like, "I couldn't think of anything to say in that moment," or whatever. He just says, "Hey, Bubba," and he just goes, "Hey, Forrest," or whatever,
Also, they talked about as soon as Bubba gets out, he's gonna get a shrimp boat.
Yeah.
And Gump's gonna come with him.
Yeah. And then Forrest says that Bubba said something to him that he's never forget. He thinks about a lot or whatever. Bubba just goes, "I want to go home," whatever, and then he dies.
So sad, yeah.
Yeah, very sad. So.
And he gets discharged because he gets shot in the butt.
He does.
He's got $1 million wound.
Yeah.
I looked that up. It's when you get hurt in the Army, and it's bad enough for you to have to go to the hospital, but not too bad to be fatal or lose a limb.
And he just gets to hang out and eat ice cream. Hang out with Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan doesn't want nothing to do with him. But he plays a bunch of ping pong. Anymore? He plays so much ping pong that the military is like, "Hey, why don't you be on our ping pong team or whatever, and we'll send you to North Korea to play ping pong and stuff."
Crazy, the Army's got a ping pong team, but I buy it.
Sure, yeah, whatever. And he does that for a while until eventually someone's like...
I love table tennis.
So this is your favorite part of this movie?
It's my whole part of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about it, or just?
I wish we could get a table for the house. Obviously, we
don't
room
have
for
room.
It.
Yeah. Anywhere.
We don't need this table. I played a lot of it in high school.
Yeah.
And I always think about that Rockstar Games ping pong game. Do you remember that?
No.
Do you remember the Xbox 360? They put out a ping pong simulator. And everyone's like, "Why would you do this?
Yeah.
Why did you make this game?" They're like, "Oh, we're just like getting real good at making games, and we just wanted to show off for a little bit, so we just made a little ping pong game."
I just always think of Balls of Fury.
Yeah. I think I saw that once on Comedy Central. That was maybe it.
But anyways, he gets discharged, and boy, what happens there? I think he takes some damn money from like lying and saying that he used a certain kind of ping pong or whatever, buys the shrimp and boat.
No. We're missing all of him coming back and being at the White House again.
Oh, for being on the ping pong?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and then he goes to
all
the
dressed
Washington
up,
Monument.
and he goes to the Washington Monument. He speaks in front of everybody. Jenny comes around out of nowhere. I really like that shot because they don't like really try to focus in on Jenny. You just see her running across the pond. Yeah. It's nice.
So it's like an end of Rocky moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get together, yada yada. She's what would you call her in her group of friends?
No, they're like revolutionaries, I guess, activists or whatever. They're hanging out with the Black Panthers. They're trying to get shit done. This whole part reminds me of Across the Universe.
Yes.
In the Strawberry Fields era.
Exact same thing.
Yeah.
And Jenny's boyfriend hits her.
Yes.
Once again, Forrest goes sicko mode.
He does. And then they tell him to leave, basically, and he's like, I'm sorry, I started a fist fight in the middle of your Black Panther party.
Great. Love
him. Yeah.
Say whatever you want about the guy. Just the world's politest guy. We forgot about him. When he gets on the bus in the army, he's like, hello, I'm Forrest Gump. The guy's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, the drill sergeant yells at him. He sits down. And then at the beginning, when he goes to the bus driver, she's like, well, get on the bus. He's like, I'm not supposed to take rides from strangers. She's like, I'm not a stranger, blah, 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 or whatever she says.
Yeah.
And he goes, hi, I'm Forrest Gump. And she says,
Dorothy Harris.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So,
anyways,
beats up that guy. The two of them are walking. He's like, I love you, Jenny. And she's like, nah. He's like, oh, but come on. She's like, no, I'm going to get on a bus, I think, if Nick remembers correctly.
Yeah.
With bad guy.
Which is interesting because this is one of the moments that I noticed, and it happens a couple of times. I won't be able to remember all of them, but you can see his knuckles are like kind of cut up from when he was beating the guy up. And there's just a couple of times in the movie. I think I pointed out another one. I don't know if you can remember it, but there's a couple of times where like the attention to detail is nice. They do it a couple of times. I just really wish. I'm trying to remember.
It'll come to you. We also missed way before when he like gets done with boot camp before he goes to Vietnam. He sees Jenny again, and she's playing guitar naked somewhere.
Yeah. Anyway, so he buys that shrimp boat.
Buys shrimp and boat.
Yeah.
Is this before or after Lieutenant Dan?
Yeah, so I guess there was a point where he met up with Lieutenant Dan, and they were
on New Year's
strippers and stuff. New Year's, yeah. And then one of them calls Forrest dumb, and he's like, "Don't ever talk to him like that," or whatever. And they leave, and he's like, "Whatever, you cripple freak." And he's like, "You get out of here, you bitches," you know.
Yeah, and he's not doing well.
No.
He's got that crazy long hair.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's just hammered all the time.
Yeah.
And just wants to die. Forrest seemingly doesn't get it. God, I feel like something else had to happen before this.
Sure. I mean, his mom might have died. But no, because then he gets in the house.
Later,
yeah, it's later, yeah.
He's for sure gone home to see Mom.
Yeah. It don't matter. We don't got to get everything.
It don't matter. But... And then, they're on the boat. And
things are not going well. He's mainly fishing up license plates.
True.
And boots and helmets.
Oh, and when he was with Lieutenant Dan on New Year's, Lieutenant Dan was like, "Oh yeah, as soon as you're the captain of a fishing boat, I'll be your first mate."
Yeah.
And so bad boat stuff starts happening, and then he sees Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan's like, "Well, what the hell did I tell you?"
Yeah.
So now they're hanging out on the 4 Seas.
Yes.
7 Seas.
Sure.
All 7 of them. And basically, yada yada yada. Bad luck, bad times. You know, Mr. Dan is like. Hey, where's your God now? Or whatever. And then Forrest Gump is like, and God did come. Some kind of crazy hurricane comes through, kills everybody else who's in the ship and bills. They're all dead now. And so the only person left alive.
It's really corner of the market, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a real unintentional monopoly on shrimp.
Yeah. So now they're swimming in cash.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens later? They Lieutenant Dan invests their money in Apple, so like he just has infinite money.
Oh, that was even before that. He had a lot of money. And, like that guy at the bench goes, oh, so I'm talking to the owner of the Bubblegum Trim Company?
Yeah.
He goes, he goes, you're a millionaire? He goes, I sure am. It's great.
So, financially locked in. He's a catch.
Yeah, and that happens later when he's just like, I gave up doing the shrimp stuff, and I just let him take it. And then he tells me where to put my money, and that's where he gets, like, the Apple stock and stuff.
Yeah.
So, something happened immediately after shrimp.
His mom dies.
Mama dies.
Mom's sick. Mom dies.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then, oh, God, so much happens in this movie. Mama dies, and then he just runs for 5 years.
I thought that was after Jenny showed up and then Jenny left.
Was it?
Because he's hanging out at Mama's all the time talking about, sometimes I just think about what if Jenny came here. And then she does come one time.
Yes. It's the happiest he's ever been.
Yeah. And they have a good time, and he's like bringing her flowers every morning and stuff, yada, yada, yada. They have sex one time. Then she leaves, and he's so sad that he spends the next like 5 years running from coast to coast.
I get it. We've all been there.
Yeah.
Also we forgot we missed him giving Bubba's mom his share of the money. It's great. I loved it.
Yeah. During his run, he coins the term "shit happens" and also the smiley face.
Yeah.
Logo.
He's already caused Watergate at this point.
Yes. He called and he said, "There's some funny technicians over there with flashlights. They're keeping me up all night."
And then, what else does he do when he runs? I love the scenes of him running. They're beautiful. Beautiful shot.
Yeah.
And then, just
not much. Just people start following him. He's on the news.
Becomes like
Unbeknownst to us, Jenny keeps all his clippings.
Yeah. And then just one day he just stops running, and everyone's like, "Oh God, he stopped." He's like, "I want to
go home now." Yeah.
And he goes. And then
I think he's just hanging out one day till Jenny says, "Hey, you should come see me."
Yeah.
So that brings us to bench. And old lady says, "You don't gotta wait for the number 9. That's like 2 blocks from here." And she's like, go on. And so he runs over to Jenny's. Jenny's there. She's a waitress. She's got a little baby.
It's now the 90s, I think.
Yeah. And she's basically like, "He's yours, Forrest." And Forrest is maybe like, "Is he like me?" And she's like, "No, he's very smart." And then they sit and watch TV together. He's the Sixth Sense kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then Jenny's like, "I also have a disease, and I'm going to die."
Sixth Sense Kid is also Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Fun fact for you.
Thank you.
And you know who Roxas is in Kingdom Hearts?
No.
It's Jesse McCartney. Remember Jesse McCartney?
Didn't he die? He died?
No.
Who died?
I don't think so.
Jesse McCartney died.
No. Teen Heartthrob Jesse McCartney?
Let me look at
Cover of Teen Beat, of Tiger Beat, Jesse McCartney? Beautiful Soul, Jesse McCartney?
Is alive. Does he have a brother?
I don't know. Aaron Carter? You talking about?
I'm talking about Aaron Carter.
Did Aaron Carter die?
Let's see, Aaron Carter.
Because that sounds right, but I don't remember it.
November 5th of 2022.
Oh, God. How'd he die?
At age 34, he died. Found in his bathtub by a housekeeper. He was cremated and his ashes were left in the care of his twin sister, Angel. The cause of death was not immediately publicized, but the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner coroner later ruled that Carter's death was accidental drowning after inhaling... Oh, God, I cannot... These chemicals. I'm going to try to sound this out. You ready? Difluoroethane, and taking alprazolam.
Yeah, but those are just nerd science ways to say other drugs. I'm sure if you Google those, you can find out what they were.
Apparently, the difluoroethane or whatever is used as a refrigerant and propellant for aerosol sprays.
Okay.
Primarily used in refrigerants, foam, blowing agents, solvents, and so he's doing inhalants. And the alpha-ralalam is sold under the brand name Xanax.
Ah.
So he was high as hell off of inhalants and Xannies. So rest in peace, Mr. Aaron Carter. That doesn't also mean you should die just because you were doing some silly drugs.
First concert.
It's very sad.
First concert I ever went to, the Beach Boys. Second concert I ever went to, Aaron Carter.
Nice. First concert I went to was, God, what's his fucking name? He did that song that was like, Asheroth. I Love College. Fall Out Boy. Then it was supposed to be the All American Rejects, but they had a cold, so Fall Out Boy ate their set, did a double set.
Wow.
And then it was Blink-182. It was their first 2008 reunion tour.
Oh, you bitch.
Saw them at the Virginia Beach Amphitheater.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
I want to see Blink-182 live so bad.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. It's just been etched in my brain forever. But there was this point where someone said one of them made a joke about I can't remember if it was Mark or Tom, but about not fucking so good or whatever, and the other one was and I fuck like Tom Cruise, and then they immediately started playing a song.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's great, love
funny,
it. Yeah. When I was Aaron Carter, it was the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Then it was Aaron Carter. Then it was Avril Lavigne.
Nice.
Then it was the Bare Naked Ladies.
Damn.
Then it was.
Who's taking you to all these?
Mom and Dad.
Okay. They were just like, "Hey, son, we got you Bare Naked Ladies tickets."
No, they were like, "We want to see Bare Naked Ladies and don't want to get a babysitter, so come on."
We want to see Avril Lavigne is the other thing.
My sister wanted to see Avril Lavigne, and I went with them.
Sure.
Because child.
Sure.
I feel like there was someone else, but I can't remember. And then I think after that it was Avenged Sevenfold with Korn.
Damn.
Yeah, and then I think it was Green Day. And then I don't know, it all kind of blends together after that because I'm an adult and it doesn't really matter anymore.
It all kind of blends together.
Yeah.
Well, basically, Forrest becomes a daddy.
He does.
They get along well. Seems like he's a good daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And after he goes to school for a little while, I mean, I think we kind of just wrap it up, right?
He talks to Jenny for a long time, and that made me
right.
cry at her grave. It made me tear up,
Yeah.
especially because it's like just like a very, very, very nice thing to do, but also it's a very Forrest thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Is he goes, little Forrest wrote you a letter. He told me not to open it, to look at it, so I didn't, and just puts a closed envelope on her. I'm like, oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, that is. It's very sad. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting because, like, it is so Forrest. It would be, in a sense, nice to keep it or to even read it. But there's something kind of even more special about the fact that it's just going to, like, get soggy in the rain and deteriorate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
And then son gets on school bus, and it's Dorothy.
Yeah. Dorothy Harris.
And then movie ends.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
ends.
the feather comes out of the Curious.
Yeah, I forgot about the feather thing. That's another thing that I'm putting in the bad bin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in all, I think this movie was all right.
Yeah.
Had some laughs, had some cries, had a fun time.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit too long.
Sure.
But also, that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
He lived a long, eventful life.
The book is even crazier. The book is legitimately the joke I made in the beginning, the whole, like, Ready Player One for boomers. It's like, don't quote me on this, but it's like nut stuff. Like, he was like the one to go to the moon for the first time.
Really?
Like, just crazy stuff. Like, you could look it up probably, but like, yeah, the book is even more like unhinged with like the amount of like cultural moments he's there for. Like, way more unhinged. This movie is a much more like pared down and like grounded
Love it.
telling of the book. So yeah, I mean that's basically that with Forrest Gump. How would you rate this thing?
I'd give Forrest Gump a B+.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty comfortable with B+.
Yeah.
Feeling pretty comfortable with B+.
Oh, we also forgot he married Jenny right before she died.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That reminds me of Jamie Livingston. I don't know if I ever talked about this on the podcast, but I know I've talked to you about it before. He's that filmmaker that took a picture every single day of his life.
Yes.
From like 1979 until he died in like 1996. And he died in the last year. It was like he had like just horrible like brain cancer or something like that. And in like the last like 6 months of his life, he finally married his longtime girlfriend. Like, I think it was like the same girl he'd been dating since like the 70s or whatever. And they got married right before he died. That's a very sad series of photos. But also, it's like Inside Out, bittersweet. You know the movie Inside Out? About how like memories aren't just
Haven't
good or
seen
bad.
it.
That's the whole point, is that memories aren't just good or bad.
Yeah, I want to see it so bad. It's on my list, but I can't. I can never just.
It's gonna rock your world.
Sit down at home and be like, do I want to see a Pixar movie I've never seen that will probably
make me cry? Yeah.
Nah, tonight's not the night. I don't think any night's ever gonna be the night.
Yeah, I do that a lot with movies. Like I so frequently I'm like, man, I should probably like see what's on the Criterion Collection, or I can watch Friday the 13th Part 5.
Yeah. No. Yeah. The other day I was flipping through movies. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I think I am gonna watch Toy Story 4 right now.
Yeah.
Just watch. Like, I was like, I'm gonna put it on while I'm doing something else. I didn't do anything else. I sat my ass right down on that couch and I watched all of Toy Story 4.
Nice.
Good
I watched
movie.
Marriage Story the other night, and eventually, I mean, we're now talking 4 weeks in advance. No, not even 4 weeks, because this is 3 episodes, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, like 8 weeks.
That's right. We do them. Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Oof.
Anyway.
Unless we go back to old format for a second,
I don't know.
or do we buy time? Do we do the time?
Oh, we buy time.
We buy time.
We buy time.
We can buy some time.
We're gonna get real rusty, but we buy time.
We can buy some time. But anywho, we already rated this motherfucker. I was in the
You
middle of
saw
saying
Marriage
something.
Story?
Oh, I saw Marriage Story. Yeah, one of the ideas I have is that we do Squid and the Whale and Marriage Story. Because again, I know I talk about it all the time. Everybody always goes, "Wow, that is interesting." I have nothing else to say about it, but just the fact that Noah Baumbach. It's like, it's 2004, and I'm just, look at me, I'm in the movie industry. What if I wrote, story about my parents getting a divorce, and then, life. Oh God, now it's 2018. I had a divorce. I know. What if I wrote a movie about my divorce? It's just interesting that there's like,
Yeah.
his career spanned not only exploring his own emotional
Yeah.
turmoil with like his parents' divorce, but then also being like, oh hey, here's what it's like to actually go through, not just watch one, and be like, involved in it the way a child is. So like that's the part that Squid and the Whale is much more sad in that sense. Like you get that first person, like this is what it's like to be the child in this scenario.
Yeah.
And then A Marriage Story is much more like,
Here's what it's like to have a child in that scenario.
yeah, because like the kid takes a huge backseat.
Yeah,
In A Marriage Story. I mean, the parents talk about how they're like, I need to do right by the kid or whatever, but like the kid is never either of their focus totally. It's very much like a King Solomon baby scenario where they're just at court to be like, how do we cut this boy down the middle? So,
Is Noah Baumbach the guy that writes with
Wes Anderson?
No.
He did for a while. They did like I think The Life Aquatic together, maybe, or like
Greta Gerwig?
Yeah, they're like in a relationship. They're together.
Oh, I didn't know that. I know they wrote Barbie and
Francis Ha and stuff. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. Together. So, anyways,
yeah, I guess I don't have anything to say about Toy Story 4. It was good.
Cool. I never saw it. I don't think.
What are the
3's where he
highlights?
goes to college, right?
Yeah.
And then 4 is where
4's just like an epilogue. Like it doesn't really. The thing
I feel like Pixar's just winging it these days.
They are, but
like
I have
seriously, I swear to God, I think I saw a trailer the other day for like it was like Pixar's Shapes.
Yeah.
Like we're just shapes.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's like, how did you guys go from like, what if toys were alive when you're not around, to what if we did a movie about shapes?
Yeah, and I like that like, we're switching up our style. We look like a totally different brand for Shapes. I'm like, you don't gotta though.
No, yeah,
you can
just
go back.
What about Finding Nemo or something like that? Like, it's just a fish that loses his son.
Lucas seems cool. Like, there's so many new ones I want to see, but and by new I mean ones that came out probably 15 years ago at this point.
Yeah,
but
sure,
I just haven't
for sure. Because there are a couple that I didn't get to. Like, I didn't get to like. I don't know if they're technically. Yeah, are they all Pixar? Like Coco and Enchanto or whatever. Like
Encanto, I don't
Encanto.
know.
I don't know. There's a couple in that stretch that like I know people swear by that I haven't seen. Like I didn't even see Frozen.
Yeah,
and I know
Frozen's
people say
not
Frozen's okay.
I hear Frozen's okay and Frozen 2 is
not good.
Bad, exactly how.
But there's a really good stretch there where like I didn't see shit. Like I didn't see Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, that's not Pixar, but I get it.
But just the Disney adjacent stuff. I don't know. I don't know which is Pixar and which is Disney because I haven't seen any of these shits. Is all I'm saying.
Exactly.
I don't know which one's which. Because that's the other thing is it's not like Disney is all that distinct from Pixar these days. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
which
Wreck-It Ralph could be or couldn't be. I don't know.
It's a bummer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, also, we watched You've Got Mail.
It's the 90s.
That's true. It was for a little while. This came out in 1998.
Yeah.
Hey, I just realized you didn't give me a letter.
What do you mean?
You didn't give me a letter for Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah, we just haven't getting mail in a while.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well,
I don't have mail.
Postal Service can't keep up with the rate that we're recording these episodes.
So. Yeah.
Anywho.
All right. Well, You've Got Mail. Who made it? Who directed this? That's right. You don't know. And who wrote it?
Robert Redford.
That's not true.
Okay.
It's 2 women. Name one of them.
Roberta Redford.
No. Based on a book, technically based on 2 books. Saying all these things, I don't know the name of any of these people or any of these things.
2 books by 2 different authors?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I thought it was 2 books by the same author.
No, 2 separate books. So I don't know how that shakes down.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah, well.
Has that ever happened in any other media? Has a play or another movie or a TV show been based off 2 separate books?
Should have done some research, me personally, I guess. Here's something I want to bring up at the top of it. We kind of talked about it already, which killed a little bit of the magic for you. But the fucking dial-up noise. Is it doing that on purpose?
It's doing it on purpose.
Okay, because my theory was that it was like accidental. Like they were like, nah, it's just like we have the code, and then that happens when
just the inside. Something about microchips. They just make those noises.
Yeah.
But alas, it's not.
Yeah,
what it's
you
for.
had to kill the.
I'm so
bit.
sorry.
It's okay.
Because the answer made me laugh, and you're like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, I gotta tell them now."
Yeah.
The answer's.
That's how the robots know. They're like synced up.
Technicians call it a handshake.
Yeah.
It's so that your computer or whatever computer it's dialing up to make that noise together. And so when they hear, like, I think that noise is coming from the other computer and your computer's listening for it and goes, yep, that's a noise I'm looking for.
My thing is, like, why couldn't it be any other noise?
That's a great,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why did it have to be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why did it have to be that thing?
Because
to me that implies we're not doing this on purpose.
It does. It sounds like my explanation I just told you is a cover up because they couldn't get that noise to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this is as far as technology has reached. We can get you on the internet, but that it also makes this happen.
But also, I think it could also be these cold, lifeless scientists.
Yeah.
And mathematicians who came up with these things are like, oh,
that's my ear.
They're like, that thing sounds exactly like a phone ringing to me. I don't know what you guys are talking about. They're both equally as annoying. I thought you people like these things.
Yeah, that's very funny, actually. Yes, that's good. It's good. It's good observational humor.
So I still can't get over it's based on 2 separate books.
Yeah.
That's buck wild. You don't do that.
Yeah.
And why? Because it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Chris. This movie's not good.
No, it's not good.
I wanted to like this movie so
Yeah.
bad, and I told you right before we started. I was like, I don't get.
Yeah.
I think we should all just stop shitting on movies.
Sure.
You just spend however long. You should find something to like about that movie and mainly talk about that.
Yeah.
Changed my mind right after watching You've Got Mail. I'm kidding. There's a lot of stuff I did. I had fun with this movie. I enjoyed watching it,
Sure.
but also the whole time watching it, I'm like, this is a bad movie.
No, it's a bad movie for sure, but I also have a love for it because it's like one of those things where it so like perfectly captures
Oh, absolutely.
like just Gap childhood. Like every commercial I saw looks like this.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like this is like the bell bottoms of my childhood. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, absolutely. Every movie from the late '90s and the early 2000s, well, most of them,
yeah.
were.
It's just like I could almost faint from how much you're taking my breath away by just being like, oh God, when my mother was young.
Yeah, it's like they're all set in New York during the fall-ish winter, and they're about business people, you know.
And it even extends into, even though the look like cleans up a little bit, it even extends into things like 30 Rock. Like 30 Rock just looks like a little bit more. It just looks like a couple years later of this same thing. But like there was this huge stretch, in my opinion, of like the aughts that just like was like New York fall always. Like just pea coat, thick rim glasses, Starbucks, you know, orange leaves.
Yeah, all of 2000 to 2005 took place the
In New
week
York.
before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And all that being said, hey, listen, you know
Yeah.
me, I love a good rom-com.
Sure.
This ain't a good rom-com. I really wanted it to be, but this is the worst kind of rom-com, I think.
Okay.
You know why? Probably why?
Why?
Because it's based on 2 different books.
Yeah. Yeah, this is also one of those movies where nobody's a good person.
Yeah,
Except
immediately.
maybe the lady, but I guess she's still fooling
cheating.
around with her boy.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, immediately the first scene is them talking to each other and then meeting their partners. It's like, oh, so both of our main characters are cheaters.
Yeah.
And they suck.
Yeah, it starts off with this like perverty, like you would only suppose this as a hypothetical to try to find one of your friends that goes like, no, that ain't bad, but you know it's bad. It starts off with this like, what if it's someone who you guys agreed to never be personal or know each other's name or know anything, but you are just talking anonymously on the internet? Is that technically cheating? And it's like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for sure.
Big time, yeah.
Yeah, that's big
And
time
also,
cheating, yeah.
these 2 met online over the email.
Yeah, it was like a chat room in a chat room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. An over 30s chat room, like a lonely
Oh,
over 30
yeah,
or something.
yeah. Yeah, and she's like, and I just, for the heck of it, tried, which means that he's over 30 and she's under 30. Didn't know. So
Basic rundown though is that she's a small business owner. She owns like a small bookstore, children's book.
married to a man who hates computers.
They're not married though.
She's
They're
in
just
a
together.
relationship with a man who hates computers.
He hates computers, and he's a journalist, and he spends the whole movie just being so insufferable about that. I mean, right from the rip, he's like, "Name one good thing technology's ever done," and me and you were just both like, "Toothbrush, backpack,
The wheel.
clothes,
A spear.
fire."
Your typewriter that you love.
Yeah, exactly. And then yeah. So then the other side of it is Tom Hanks, who is rich. His dad owns big bookstore. Borders.
Yeah.
The other one,
Barnes
the
and
one that's
Noble.
the one that's still in business. And it's just interesting, this like megalith, like fucking coffee shop, 6th floor bookstore thing that he builds. We were talking about when we were watching it. It's like that at this time, like that was like a hot. Like, yeah, we could make money on this, and it's just so crazy that like 10 years later they'd be like, Borders is out of business.
Yeah, these
like
these
the
are little
internet
guys
so
now,
quickly
yeah.
squashed that ball.
Yeah, Barnes and Nobles are the little bookstores now because they are the only bookstores now.
Yeah, but so basically he owns that. His dad is a player to the point where like he's got a like 6-year-old brother and sister.
Yeah. When the 2 of them meet in her bookstore at first, she's like, "Oh yeah, your kids," and he's like, "Oh, these aren't my kids. This is my aunt, and that's my brother."
Yeah.
She's like, "What?" He goes, "My dad's a big pervert, so yeah, blah blah blah, this and that." And then we never see the kids again.
Yeah.
So there is.
It's just like a joke or a bit, I guess. It's probably just like the leftovers of smashing 2 books
I was
together.
gonna say it's probably a big part of a book.
Yeah, so anyways. But basically, in the beginning, yeah, they're talking romantic-like, and they don't know that basically, like, Tom Hanks is opening one of them mega bookstores, like, the same block that the little children's bookstore that she owns is on. And throughout this whole movie, while Tom Hanks eventually becomes hip to it, it's one of those things where like they spend a lot of it not necessarily knowing that they're talking to each other, but we as the audience know it. And then the last little section is like Tom Hanks knows, but she doesn't, which is inappropriate on his end. But again, everybody's just been terrible to this point anyway, so who gives a fuck? Anyways.
And we'll get to it.
Couldn't really tell you anything about the beginning. I mean, she's hanging out, and that like Steve Zahn guy there, I think that's his name or something like that. He's in like Strange Wilderness and Sahara and stuff. I think he's a funny comedic actor. Never see him around anymore.
Her boyfriend?
No, the guy who works at the bookstore.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's a funny actor. I liked him in daycare as a kid, and growing up, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, there's some Happy Gilmore or whatever, Happy Madison or whatever the fuck it's called, stuff that I like. That I've got soft spots for, like, I'll even say it. There's a weird comfort aspect of grown-ups. But,
really?
But I love Strange Wilderness. It's a one that doesn't have Adam Sandler in it, but it has all of his friends, and I'll defend it till the day I die. And yeah, he's a funny actor. Steve Zahn's a funny guy.
She also works with the world's oldest woman.
That's true.
And the world's youngest woman.
Anyways, so they are just kind of like, what the fuck happens in this thing?
They're like,
Tom Hanks has an awful girlfriend.
Yeah, Parker Posey. Shout out.
She does stuff.
I'd like to see her in more. I feel so bad. She wasn't she like on fire around this time in the 90s, and then just nothing happened. I think she was in Scream 3, and then no movies until Beau is Afraid.
Interesting.
I'm lying. I mean, I don't actually know that, but she was just gone for a long time.
Sure, yeah.
I was bummed about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I am bummed about it.
Yeah. I also say this. A lot of this is cringe just because it's like leaking the DMs. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that you talk to somebody when you're just being like, no pretense, just like raw dog. Like, hey, I'm just going to say like, you ever just look at the sun and then you think like, I wonder if, I don't know, it's just like, like that kind of a thing. Where
I wonder
like,
if there's another movie other than The Godfather.
Sure, yeah, but yeah, just one of those things where like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like where you talk kind of like a fucking idiot when you like know the other person isn't gonna like judge you necessarily.
Oh yeah.
And so it just gets kind of cringe sometimes.
Oh, every time, yeah.
Every time, yeah.
They're just. That's the hardest part of this movie for me, is that they fall in love over the dumbest shit I've ever heard two people say. He's like, I love New York in the fall,
Yeah.
It gets orange.
And then she'll tell her friend, she'll be like, oh my God, he loves New York like I love New York. And it's like, dude, people who haven't even been to New York talk about how they fucking love New York. That is not interesting.
The way that he does, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, or special.
Yeah, it just,
That's one of my favorite reels. If I can be that guy for a second, is this one where this guy's like eating a bagel, everybody's like, motherfuckers, I ain't telling you about this spot. This is all mine. And then it hard cuts to a guy being like, yeah, this is Steve's Bagel on 34th Street. And it like shows how he's like, I zoomed in on this half logo here, whatever, and I used that to cross search the internet for whatever, and I found out that it's this deli right here on this street. So definitely, if you're interested in these bagels, go there.
That's very funny, but I have seen a lot of videos of people doing that online to the extent where it's like, hey, this is bad. You shouldn't be trying to figure out where, Twitch streamers live by the shadows casted through their windows.
Sure.
It's disgusting.
But I have no tolerance for that whole like thing where it's like, what are you doing down here at this photo place that develops film? This is my place. And it's like, there's only two places that do this in the continental U.S. It's not your place. It's just the only place left that does this. And why are you gatekeeping it? It doesn't make you cool because you know that it exists.
Yeah. I would get it if, like, you're a New Yorker.
Yeah.
And you're like, I got to keep this place on the DL because I don't want this place to be crowded all the time.
Sure.
But also, you're hurting that small business, man.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Also, I will say another one of my favorites is like when it starts with a Google Map thing and then they zoom in on like a specific fence and then it's just that kid going LeBron James. It's like they found the exact street corner that he did it on.
Or
it's funny.
Google Maps where he had to do it to him, do it to him guy. They found that. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
I thought you meant the Google Maps at the beginning of You've Got Mail, which is a fly through of an early Toy Story scene.
Very
it looks
funny.
Awful.
Yeah.
Love it, like you said, just such a moment in time.
Yeah.
But yeah,
this movie's a mess.
This movie's a
Who
mess.
knows what's
He
going
goes
on?
in to buy books with his daughter, niece, and she's they talk for a bit, and she's like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Joe."
Joe.
One name. That's all I've got.
Because Fox and Sons is the name of the company that is the whatever, and his last name's Fox, so like she would know, and he doesn't want her to know. So he does a lot of lying in this movie.
Yeah, and she's like, everyone at the store is like, oh, our store's gonna get shut down because of this.
Yeah,
she's like, no, it's fine. I'm a woman in a rom-com in the 90s. I'm the dumbest person who's ever existed. So no, we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
And they're not fine.
No, they get shut down for sure.
They get shut down pretty hard.
Yeah.
And
I will
she
say,
sees her mom's ghost.
Before the ghost thing happens, every morning in New York, for some reason, a random song from the 50s plays, and then everyone, like, with the Dutch tilt, pulls up their, like, chainmail guard thing and it reveals their neon that says Nut Shop, Joseph's Nut Shop, or whatever.
It's so out of place in this movie.
Yeah, especially like the opening day of Fox and Sons. For some reason, it's like bum, 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 splish splash. I was taking a bath, bum, 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 over on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck does that have to do with the bookstore opening? I'm not saying lyrically it has to match up, but I can't think of a more like iconoclastic, like just fucking clashing of two things than fucking the song about I was having a bath at a party while 7 a.m.
That's also how I feel about the neon signs.
Yeah.
Whatever you're trying to say by showing a bunch of neon signs turning on is, I would think, antithetical to a bookstore opening. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate it. It's just so out of place in this movie, but I like it. I like it every time. I'm like, those are cool. Love it. Love Joe's Nut Shop.
But anyways, so yeah, basically that opens, they close, yada, yada, yada. Before that even happens, I think they bump into each other at a party.
They bump into each other so much.
All the time, yeah. Like even immediately after the Apple Maps thing, there's like a scene of like one of those New York streets that comes to a very fine point.
Yeah, like
and they like walk just past each other just a million times in a day, every time. And Dave Chappelle's there also.
Oh, yeah.
He's there for 2 scenes.
I was reading.
Did not utilize Dave Chappelle at all.
I was reading on
one of the funniest guys ever with the best delivery, and they give him nothing.
I was reading on IMDb, so take it with a grain of salt. But they wanted Dave Chappelle for Bubba.
Oh, really?
And he turned it down, and then was like, "I made a horrible mistake."
For sure,
he thought Forrest Gump wasn't going to go anywhere.
Horrible mistake.
Tom Hanks knew that he had said that. So when they were making this movie, he's like, "Hey, you want to be in this one?" He's like, "Oh, yeah,
awesome.
absolutely."
Yeah.
But again, just underutilized.
Horrible consolation prize.
Yeah, awful.
Horrible consolation prize. But I think things worked out for him in the end.
For a while, for a bit,
for a little bit. Then he put his own
and
foot
then it started,
in his
and
mouth.
then it stopped again.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and they just kind of fuck around for a bit. Yeah, they keep bumping into each other or almost bumping into each other.
And they hate each other, which is just like a staple of like anytime two people have ever been in love before, like 2018, for some reason it had to be animosity based first. I don't know why movies portray it like that all the time. What is that? That's so weird. I'd like to like actually like read about like where that like comes from, I guess, from a storytelling perspective, because like I don't know a real life, because even like Cheers, they do the whole will they won't they by being mean to each other the whole time.
Yeah,
but then they'll kiss at the end of the episode.
It's the refusal of the call.
I guess so.
I don't know if rom-coms and romance movies work on the hero's journey.
Well, I'm assuming yes, because like there's that point where because like he's like, oh look, it's Heather Featherbottom in the coffee shop. Nah, I'm gonna walk away. But then he does go in. And you're like, oh, he's going to tell her. But then he doesn't tell her.
Yeah.
So I guess in some sense. But whatever. That stuff aside, all I'm saying is I don't know why movies are always like, what up, you fat pig? And then they're like, nothing, you disgusting pig. And then they go to bed in separate houses being like, oh, I love her so much. It's like, I've never experienced that in my life, nor have I seen that.
Yeah, it sucks.
I don't know if that's like a previous generation thing.
Yeah, it's got to
like
be.
What it used to be.
It's like the whole.
Because even when like my grandparents tell stories, it's not like, oh yeah, we worked together for 6 years and I hated him and he hated me and then one day we just kissed. Like I don't know what I mean. Like I've never heard that story. It's just it's like straight up just a movie thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like.
But it's also like it reminds me of every old person I've heard tell a story about how they met. It's always just like the grandma being like, oh, well, I was 14 years old and he would come back from work every day from the factory at the age of 29. And he'd see me, and he'd be like, hey, do you want to go on a date? And I'd say no. And then he followed me all the way home, and he did it for 4 days straight. And by the end, I said, fine, I'll go on a date with you. And the next week, we were married.
Yeah.
That took way too long. It reminds me of that in the same way of, like, every movie like this, it's the gross thing everyone's always talking about where, like, it, like, gives young men the idea of if you're going for a girl and
Yeah.
she seems not into it, you just got to try harder.
Yeah.
That's what that means. And it sucks, and maybe it happens because most movies are written by men, and so men are like, well, yeah, this is how it works. If you just pester a woman for long enough, she's going to come around and fall in love with you, right?
Sure. Well, I will say also, Tom Hanks shows his true colors in that grocery scene. It's very upsetting.
Go
Where
on.
she's in the cash only line, and she doesn't have cash.
Oh, and he gives her cash?
No. He shows up and he's like, well, this is a credit card machine right here,
Oh,
Rose.
right.
It's a
Yeah,
nice name,
yeah,
Rose.
yeah.
So why don't you just do a little favor and put the credit card in the credit card machine, Rose?
And then my favorite character in the movie is standing...
Henry.
Yeah, he's like, hey, fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And he's like, hold
He's
on.
like, what's your
Tom
name?
Hanks."
Henry? Happy Thanksgiving, Henry. Yeah. Anyways, this is a computer. You can use this computer to whatever. Yeah.
And then eventually what happens is they
He gets
decide
stuck in
to...
an elevator. So he breaks up with his girlfriend. But that happens after what you're talking about.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
But that's after.
Yeah. They decide to meet in person.
Yes.
He goes there with Dave Chappelle and goes, you gotta tell me what she looks like, if she's hot or not. He goes, oh fuck, that's that bookstore lady. He goes,
Yeah.
oh.
He goes, well, she looks a lot like Heather Featherbottom or whatever. And then he goes, so you better be pretty into her because she looks just like her. And he's like, well, how just like her? And he's like, well, she is her.
Oh yeah, and she's been slandering him on the news and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah.
Which doesn't help because the bookstore shut him down.
Yeah.
And then he goes in there and pretends not to be guy online
Sure.
for whatever reason.
And then she's mean to him.
Because he's kind of mean to her.
Yeah.
He's just like, teasing. And then she...
Yeah, just goes to show, if you dish it, you better be able to take it.
Yeah, she says some, like, repulsive shit to him. Not in, like, a bad way on her end. Like, yeah, good for you. Because she's like, please, will you please just go? I'm trying to meet someone. He's like, no, I'm going to stick around and blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, yeah, you suck ass and you're the scum of the earth and yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And he goes, well, that's my cue. I'm like, ooh, such a cutting thing to say to someone who just cut you real deep. And then she's like, oh, I feel bad about that. And then that just kind of happens for a while.
Yeah, there's like this section of the movie where it reminds me of almost like the Groundhog Day, where like he just gets the chance over and over again to like slowly build his character up in her eyes.
Her bookstore closes down,
Yeah.
closes up shop, goes out of business. Then he gets stuck in the elevator and goes, yeah, maybe I should be with Heather Featherbottom.
Yes.
And so he just keeps showing up and being like, what's up? And
Here's some flowers.
She's like, hey.
I remember this sickness scene. That's etched in my brain for some reason. We were watching it. I was like, why is this the bit that I remember?
She's like, hey, you got my mother's bookstore shut down, so fuck off out of my face. He's like, oh, but what if I didn't? And she's like, what if you didn't? And they just have coffee together. She's like, but I still don't like you. And he just keeps doing that until one day he comes to her house and he rings on the buzzer. And she's like, no, I'm not letting you in. And he sneaks behind someone else that's going in. And he barges his way into her apartment. She's like, I'm sick as hell, bro. You can't be here. He's like, it'll be fine. And he just starts like nagging her about shit. And then she's like, I'm going to bed. And she goes into her bed. And he follows her in there and sits on her bed and then touches her on the mouth to shush her, like with his whole hand, kind of like John Travolta in Face Off.
Yeah.
And he says some shit that I think he said online to her, and she just doesn't really pick up on it.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is he's being like pretty on the nose with like some of the things he's saying to her.
Yeah, but also at the same time...
But she never once goes, Clark?
Yeah, and it feels like he's talking to her online and then reporting back as Tom in real life and being like, oh, what did that dick say? And she's like, oh, this. He goes, oh, he's just trying to do this. And it feels like he's trying to besmirch online guy's name.
Yeah.
And then build up real life guy. But that doesn't really go anywhere. And then
they want to meet up again.
She's like, yeah, but he stood me up, but I think I can forgive him. And he goes, kind of like how I shut down your bookstore, and maybe if you forgive him for that, you can forgive me for this. And she's
then
like,
she runs away.
I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And she runs away, and they decide to meet up again. And Tom Hanks comes out. She's like, hey, it was me. And she cries.
Goes, I wished it was you. And then
like, that came
Over the Rainbow plays.
Yeah. And Chris.
Yeah.
She doesn't get the bookstore back. I thought for
happens
I thought for sure she was maybe going to run his bookstore, and they would change the name to her bookstore, so now she just has a giant bookstore that he owns. No.
Which is like, I'm not pulling the misogyny thing. I'm just saying, like, objectively, like, her character gets like nothing in this story.
Yeah, she's just there, fucked over, and never apologized.
She occupies the same amount of space as Tom Hanks, but has nothing other than she lost.
Yeah, but now that guy gets to sleep with her.
Yeah. So that's what happens, is he wins in business and gets the girl, and she just lost her second generation small business.
And has to, as Meg Ryan, settle for a guy that looks like Tom Hanks.
Yeah, and so now they're together, and I guess she has his money and love, which is fine. But I just really feel like she's getting a bad deal.
Yeah, because he shut down her mother's bookstore.
Yeah.
I don't...
Yeah, it reminds me of The Graduate. I don't get The Graduate. I've seen The Graduate.
Uh-huh.
I really can't work past the part where it's like, so used to slam my mom, now let's run away together.
I ain't never seen No Graduate, so I don't know.
That's basically what happens. Here's The Graduate, literally. Is he comes home, it's the first night home, it's a little party, okay?
Mm-hmm.
For him finishing college. Doesn't really know what to do. Laying around, malaise, not getting a job, kind of hanging out in his pool. Attractive friend of parents needs a ride home from that party, though, before we even get there. Things are a little tense sexually.
Okay.
And then that progresses to, like, them fucking for a while.
Ooh.
But she's got this hot daughter.
Ooh.
And Dustin Hoffman's like, daughter's pretty hot. So then eventually they stop having sex or whatever, and he's kind of dating the daughter.
Kinda?
Mom's not happy about it.
Uh-huh.
And then I think, like, daughter might, like, find out or something like that. Goes and gets another boyfriend. They don't talk for a while.
Finds out that he used to slam her mom?
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't know already?
No, I don't think she knew.
That's so much worse.
And so she finds a new boyfriend, and then they're, like, getting married, and the movie ends with him, like, it's been parodied in Family Guy and stuff like that. He's, like, rushing to the church last minute, and then he's, like, up top. He can't get into the actual, like, ceremony, so he's, like, at the church. There's, like, this, like, walkway with, like, wall, floor-to-ceiling, like, windows. He's just banging. He's like, I object, or whatever. And then they run away together, and the last shot is, like, them all smiling, and they're on the back of a bus.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
they're looking at everybody, and then when they turn to face the camera, they kind of, like, both, like, get frowns instead of smiles. They look very sad with their decision. And
Yeah.
then the picture's over.
Yeah, I know that. The only thing I know about The Graduate is a fun fact about that scene.
Yeah.
Is that they yelled cut and just didn't turn the camera off. So that's literally actors just going, and, like, not being happy anymore because they don't have to act like they're happy. And they're like, oh, shit, that's cool. That's a good ending.
Yeah.
That sucks. I don't want to see The Graduate.
Yeah. Which is interesting because, again,
do.
yeah, I would like to watch it again and see if I get it now. Because, like, I remember talking about it with Will not too long ago, friend of the show, Will Lorenzen. Will said something about it, like, being very, it's saying something in a sense that, like, is relatable to some degree or something like that. And I'm sure that there might be that in there, but I was just thinking, like, the movie where that guy plows the girl's mom and then runs away with the girl? Because I don't know. All I'm saying is, like, just my personal preference. I'm not running away with nobody who used to bang my dad. And also, if I used to bang someone's mom, I don't think I can run away with them. But maybe I'm old-fashioned.
You're just a really good guy, Chris.
Maybe I'm old-fashioned like that.
Well,
this movie gets like a D+, I think. Not The Graduate. We'll do that another time. But You've Got Mail gets a D+.
You've Got Mail gets a D+ for me. No, it gets a solid D for me.
Okay.
I don't hate it, but I don't. I might hate it, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to besmirch it too much. Like I said, I had fun. It just sucks that she didn't get the bookstore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be fun on my end at least. I mean, I don't know if you have this. We could do like a vice versa. Like we could swap it. I get one, you get one. But just two movies that I'm like, everybody loves these, but I don't get it. My picks would be The Graduate and Lost in Translation.
Okay.
Because I probably said it on the podcast before. I think that Lost in Translation is like overtly racist multiple times throughout its runtime, and also is like does this weird thing where like there's that huge age gap, and they're both like, nah, it's not romantic, or it's also not friendship. It's just like a weird third thing. And it's like, no, this was like an emotional affair you had with an older man.
Is that maybe the point?
No, the whole point is that sometimes the people you meet in passing mean more than the people you've known for a long time.
Okay.
Is like the thesis statement of the film. Sofia Coppola says.
I'm trying to think of what mine would be.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Well, those are my two. They're like movies that like I'm like I see some aesthetic value here for sure, and like I definitely can respect like definitely a movie doesn't have to be about good people doing good things.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sense, these movies are fine and I can enjoy them for that. It's just I feel like there's something I'm missing with both of them. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's mainly it. It's not even that, like, what they're doing is so reprehensible that I'm like, oh, God, I can't believe that they've put this in a film. It's just like, I'm like, where's the thing I'm supposed to be
What are we doing?
walking away
what are we
from,
doing
I guess.
here? Yeah.
Like, you know, at least with Lost in Translation, you know, I do kind of get the thing where it's like the, like, isolation of, you know, both of them are at, like, extended travel. Like, that is their life, and they're lonely. They live out of hotel rooms, right? So I can get that. And I can get that thing where, like, you make this little, you know, relationship with somebody, you know, because you guys are both American and, like, a foreign land or whatever, and spending lonely nights together or whatever. But again, it's just, like, not that it has to, but it almost reminds me of, like, Black Mirror, where, like, I'm not happy with where they go from that. Like, they set up a fun premise, and then, like, it ends...
Kind of shit the bed all the way, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, so we're just going to end with the thing where, like, you guys see each other in, like, the crowded Tokyo, and you're not Tokyo. I think it's Tokyo. I could be wrong. But anyways, and, like, you know, Bill Murray whispers something to Scarlett Johansson, and you never hear it. And it's like, oh, well, it wasn't romantic, and it wasn't. And it's like, no, you just... You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, I like the lonely setup, but then it was this weird... I don't know. I guess the more I'm talking about it, the more that I can find a little bit to appreciate, but I'd have to rewatch it. Same thing with The Graduate. I do get the whole thing where it's like laying around post, you know, graduation, and then, yeah, like, okay, so you start fucking the older lady down the street, you know, not ideal, but not the worst thing ever. And then, yeah, from a storytelling perspective, it is interesting to, like, fall in love with her daughter now. But then, I don't know, it's just, like, weird that you guys run away together. Like, is that, I don't know, it's like, it seems like a tough ask to have someone get over that, I feel like.
I
you
get
know,
that, yeah.
Like I said, like, I'm sure if love were involved, maybe, but, like, if I were to just pitch soft to you, like, hey, you think there's a reality in which you could run away with your stepmom?
How hot's my stepmom?
Say she's mega hot.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, neither do I. Because I'm speaking for you in this moment, but, you know, Raleigh was all up in that. And not only romantically, like, sexy. I'm not just talking about, like...
again and say your dad?
No, I'm going to say Raleigh. But it's not only the sex part, it's also just, like, they called each other baby and honey. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They were just hanging around. They were telling each other secrets. Like, she knows your dad.
Yeah.
Exactly. She knows your dad in a way that's just not appropriate for, like, my significant other to know my dad.
For someone other than my mom to know my dad.
Exactly. And I don't mean that romantically. I mean, even just, like, the inner machinations or whatever of his fucking mind. Just, like,
yeah.
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 Because how does that... You know, because, like, you still talk about your ex sometimes in your relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, like, I know for a fact if she says, like, oh, yeah, I had this one ex, it's like, well, you're not naming names, so I know it's my dad. Yeah. Thanks.
And more than anybody.
Yeah.
It rings truer than anybody when this person says, no, you're just like your father in so many ways. Like, she knows more than anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's gotta suck. So I wouldn't, no.
So anyways, might have outed myself as a dummy for not getting those two movies, and especially once we watch them. But, yeah, those are just two ones that I'm always left with, like, a little bit of a, well, it was an odd bird.
Mine would be Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
And
I think it really just amounts to, like, kids being so horny to skip school that was, like, such a big fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, because it's good, but it's like, yeah. But anyways, go ahead.
Fuck, I don't...
You don't have to come up with them right now. But you can try.
Thank you.
If you got it.
I don't.
Okay, well, that as far as I'm concerned, that's That Mattress Man, but also no, it's not, because I guess we should say that the next episode is definitely going to be X and Pearl.
Yeah, we're feeling like we want to watch that, you know?
Yeah, just feeling like there's a chance we might want to watch that in the future,
yeah.
and that we definitely haven't watched it already, and that we're definitely not going to just hit record again and pretend to do this, like, cold open thing, like we weren't just sitting here for the last hour and 15 minutes. And,
yeah.
You know.
But,
so...
Yeah, for some reason we just had these 4 movies on our mind after we saw...
Barbie and Oppenheimer, yeah.
Barbie and Oppenheimer. And which, you know, Barbie, you gave...
I gave Barbie an A+.
Yeah, you really did. I wasn't super hot on it.
Yeah.
So I gave it a solid C.
Yeah. I just said Oppenheimer, that's an F. I'm the Nolan hater. You know, it was an awful movie. No merit to it.
Yeah. And as you know, on my back, I have that, like, cracked Batman symbol from, like, the third movie. Yeah. So I think Oppenheimer was an A+.
Yeah.
I put it in my S tier because I liked Oppenheimer so much. I'm the opposite of you.
Yeah, my sister, the other day, she texted me, she was like, why don't you have an S tier?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah,
You just
And
don't
I was
like
like, well, I was like, well, no, because like it was like a bit, like, you know, and I was just like, so she was like, what's this movie in the X tier? Me, and I was like, well, it's another bit.
It's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
It's Pink Flamingos.
Hey, listen, Nick's just real passionate about stuff, so he gives a few S's.
Yeah. Well, that is that. Mattress Maine.
It's not as good as Tenet, though.
Never saw that one. That's like his lowest rated one, I thought.
I never saw it either.
No. Yeah,
I
I want
haven't
to see
seen-
Dunkirk, primarily because the other day I saw that it's only an hour and 48 minutes. That's so
Really?
reasonable. But I've also seen Prestige and Interstellar and Inception and The Batman. So I've seen most of his stuff, actually.
Remember when we watched The Prestige for this show?
We did watch The Prestige for the show, and then there was a magician who actually never ended up making an appearance.
Yeah, he will one of these days.
Yeah.
He'll, unbeknownst to us,
Hope he's still alive.
it's a
Hope
long
he's doing
con.
well.
He's gonna throw a bomb on the floor or a smoke bomb on the floor, and then he'll
So,
appear.
wishing the best to Magic Man Bill Cooper.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll get around to it, Bill. If you're listening, which I really hope you are,
Yeah.
we'll get you that. Bill, if you're, oh my god, this, Bill, if you're listening to this right now, you still got my number. Shoot me a text.
You leave that in.
We'll try to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that ended up on the cutting room floor. We also did a Matrix and Back to the Future episode where we just got way too drunk.
Yeah, Elton was there.
Because the first couple times we had Elton on, I think out of his own nerves, he wanted to have a couple of drinks, but that overtly was like, why don't we have some beers, boys? And so then we all took it too far.
Yeah, because it worked well with
We all took it
Spider-Man.
far. Yeah.
And then,
It was way too sloppy the second time.
Mm-hmm.
So those are two movies that'd be great to have in the podcast again someday. But wow, those were some sloppy boys.
Miss him. Rest in peace.
Yep. Well, anyways, that officially is that. Mattress Man. If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time,